Hello, welcome back to Mining Network. I'm with Glenn Jess. I'm the president and CEO of Silver Tiger. Glenn, good to see you again. We haven't caught up since Zurich in November. Just give us a brief overview of who you are and what's been happening since.
Well, Peter, we've been busy, and thank you for having me on again. I enjoyed our conversation in Zurich. Look at Silver Tiger Metals. I think you know the company. I think it's very important that people know who they're investing with when they buy shares. The project is important, but track record is very, very important. We've been in Mexico, our group, almost 30 years. We've built one, two, three, four large mines. We've sold three to majors. Everything we've ever really put our fingers on has turned into a very economic asset, either a mine we built or one we sold to a big company and they built it. And Tiger is just the next. We acquired, I'm a securities lawyer by training. I think most people know that. I saw this asset right after we'd created Silver Tiger. I took that public on the TSX Venture Exchange. We just had to have it. And why? Because it produced 100 million silver equivalent ounces at over 2.5 kilos from 1908 to 1929. And they only stopped that American mine was closed only because silver went to 10 cents from $1.33. And we just knew if we got back in there, the old timers in our experience, no new discovery in Mexico. It's all under around the head frames of old American or Spanish mines, that it would go well, and it really has. So we bought the public company that owned it, delisted it, took the asset, and we've been running ever since. Fully institutionally financed. We can talk about how that's come together, and that's the next thing. You have to have the team with the experience. You have to have the asset, which we have. But then there's only one way forward, and that's to have the capital, not just to drill a few holes, but to drill a few holes and then to move this towards what we call economics, which means build a mine.
No, and I think that's why you do have a lot of institutional support. Obviously, your history as well as the quality of the mine. You just completed financing recently. I was wondering, just before we go on to the project in more detail, I was wondering if you could actually just fill us in on the financing and how much you've raised and the use of funds.
So you know what, we really started once you get to that point where we all look, and myself and my partners, most of the checks early days, I've got, I think, about 3 million of my own dollars in here. In that range. You fund it yourself, but you always want to move it down the field with those early stage investors to get it to the institutional support. That's a tough thing to do, and the asset has to prove that it's worth that. So probably about I would say last 2.5 years, we've raised all institutional bought deal financings, over $80 million US, Canadian. I almost said US. The last one we just did, all of those by all of the institutions in Toronto. I like big syndicates. People can go look at all of the press releases. Most of the investment banks in Toronto have been involved in our deals. I'm really proud that almost all of them, about 90% of those, that money raised was straight up common shares with no warrants to hang over us. So that was very good. And the last one we just did was very pleased to get it done. It was led by BMO with a nice syndicate underneath that. We did an $18 million bought deal financing, which we just closed several weeks ago. That leaves us with about 32 million Canadian in the bank to keep steaming ahead with Silver Tiger.
Okay, so about 30 odd million in the bank. You're sort of, I guess from my perspective, very good and well funded to really progress this through the economic studies that you were mentioning before. I just want to go into the actual deposit itself. Obviously, it's not your typical epithermal deposit as such that you'd see in Mexico. You've been producing some phenomenal results in a sulfide zone that I don't think anyone was expecting to be there. But visually, I mean, how does this look? And perhaps you can pull up a slide here and actually show us how this differs from your typical deposit in Mexico.
I think that's a very good idea. I think we've talked a little here about track record, and track record really is the team that's been working with our group for almost 30 years, experts in epithermal systems. I'm a securities lawyer. I'm not going to try to wow everybody with my deep geological knowledge, but it was really, as a quick study, I learned that usually, and in all cases, all those mines I talked about earlier that the group has built and or developed and sold to majors, consist of two types of mineralization in our experience. And it's classic silver deposits, epithermal in Mexico. I just drew a line there. Call that the first type of mineralization. That's your epithermal vein. quartz vein, 2 meters, 3, 10, 20, 50 kilos more of silver, full of chalcopyrites, valerite, galena, black sulfides, looks like your countertop. And there are many mines in Mexico that have been very successful just chasing that to great depth, say a kilometer. Tough mining, narrow vein. And usually in our experience, what makes these mines and the ones we've built in the past much more, nothing's easy in building mines, but more easy is the second type of mineralization you usually find. We call it the stockwork zone, where basically when those fluids flowed to surface through those veins, and you had in what we would call great plumbing, a great brecciation. Here in the Tigre, it's the Tigre zone at surface, called the first 150 meters, call it 50, 60, 70, 100 meter cuts, where you get a lower grade dissemination of precious metals. In this case, in this circumstance, very interesting that, this is an 80% quartz silver vein you look at here, 20% gold. When it blew out at surface along the trend, it was almost all gold. We recognized that we had unlimited quartz veins. We get to that. But when we first got the project, I told you I bought that public company, we went at it pretty hard, and we drilled off 43101 million ounce gold resource. You can go look at it. It's all filed on CDAR, and put that on the books right away. We knew it would have its value down the road. Just shy of a gram, 2-to-1 strip. This is not all moved economics yet. It's only resource, but a beautiful open pit it will be someday. Call it close to a gram. The first 600,000 ounces, that million ounces of gold, are basically really quickly approaching a gram. So those are the things you need. And so we put that on the books, and then we started getting surprised. And we started getting surprised really as a team that's been doing this for almost 30 years, the geological team. This was on the books, call it, that's done. Let's start drilling basically to depth underneath the north end of the old Tigre mine. The old timers took 100 million silver equivalent ounces close to surface, and from the south end where they went to depth, they barely touched the north end. They went to 70, 80 meters. Let's start drilling down underneath where the three main veins, the Tigre, Sui, and Sites Kelly passed through. And we got exactly what we thought. We were hitting one, you can go look at the drill results over the last couple of years, 1, 2, 3 meters, 1, 2, 3, 10 kilos. I think we drilled one as high as 80 kilos, just with the old timers mine. And then we got a surprise. In the last year, you may have, start hearing us talk about this. This wasn't supposed to be there. We started drilling holes where we expected at 150 meters, drilling from surface, to get 1 or 2 meters of multi-kilo quartz vein, high grade. And we started drilling 20, 25 meters, up to 28, 29 meters, some of it as high as 2, 3 kilos of beautiful mineralization, silver I'm talking about, equivalent. And it took us a while to figure it out. We were not expecting that. We thought that was our one gift here and surprise, new discovery, and we took it and we loved it. It really looked like it took us 6 months to figure out what it was. We had never seen it in Mexico, and I don't think it has been. A shale zone laid down when this was an inland sea. These are all volcanic flows. We don't know how this all happened over 15 or 30 million years. This didn't happen yesterday. There was a quiet period, and when this was an inland sea, a beautiful layer of shale was laid along all of the property. I'll show you how far we followed already on the next one. And whenever that quartz vein, just like whenever it came through this beautiful plumbing at surface, went through it, you had a blowout of 20 or 30 meters of beautiful mineralization. This is hard mining. Once you get your pit, you're going underground, narrow vein silver mining. This was a real gift. Some real long hole mining. We're not sure what it will be, but a beautiful 150 meters from surface. Very exciting. And remember, with our rehab of the old mine, and we've been talking about that for a while. We're back in the old mine. We're pretty well walking here in level 7. We're soon going to start drilling all these holes, not from surface, but from there. To have that sitting right under your feet was a real bonus. I want to show you something here. I think we should switch slides because I want you to appreciate and the viewers to appreciate sort of what we have here. Call this, we've got 30 kilometers of this, and these veins continue north and south that. Call this, you can see it here in this little picture. There's the old mine. See the old timers at the north end only went down 80 or 90 meters. Here they went to 450. They took 500 million, they took 550, excuse me, 50 million silver equivalent ounces are right here at 2.5 kilos. They were heading this way. So all of our drilling and new discovery has been right here, drilling from surface. But I want to show you the sail. This is level 7. I showed you that. There's that shale zone we found. We have now drilled that consistently for 3 to 4, 5 kilometers to the north. We found it down here. It is very consistent. It's going to add a very beautiful bonus to this already very nice open pit / underground vein system. And so stay tuned. You'll see lots more results from that. But I want to kind of whet your appetite for what's happened here in the last 6 months, because that was not the last surprise. Let's go back to the conceptual. If you'd looked at this map when we first got there, there would have only been 1 and 2 on the map. And that would have been enough to make a beautiful, we thought, to have a beautiful, beautiful economic deposit. 3 was a gift. And we said, okay, that's great. Let's just keep drilling though, because there've been never any drill holes. Remember, the old timers just drifted on the vein. So we started putting some deep drill holes down from surface. No mining below here. You can see where the old timers took some from here. And we started drilling into this, what we call the sulfide zone, last fall. We had no idea what we'd hit. No one had any idea. You're expecting exactly what we expected up here when we hit this brand new discovery. 1 meter, 2 meters, 1.5 meters, 1, 2, 3 kilos. Beautiful stuff. And it's going to keep going. And we got a result back. Don't quote me on what it was last fall. And everybody went, what is that? 25, I think it was 40 or 50 meters of almost a kilo. And everybody just put their hands up. That's not supposed to be there. What we thought we might have done, that's why we didn't crow about it last fall. When you're drilling to get to here from this type of terrain, these are pretty steep holes, to get down there. What we'd automatically thought we had done is we had drilled down the structure. And that's a no-no. So we didn't make a big crow about it. We reported, and if you look at the first press release, we called it the Tigre vein, because that's where we were in the vicinity of the middle big vein, the old timers mined. And then we went to the mountain. I think it was, call it October, and the whole team came because we had to see the core. It was very evident when we got there that this was something totally different, that we had not drilled down the structure. And it was, if we were in Canada, we call it a massive sulfide. It's not a word we use in Mexico, so we call it a sulfide zone. So it was really simple. We said, all right, we're not sure what it is, but let's just start. This is simplistic. Let's just start going over here. And let's start going over here away from the structure. And I mean, go look at the last 4 or 5 press releases through that since the fall, a couple already this year. It's incredible ore. It's already, and more holes where it's open to the north and to the south. I'll show you a little picture of what it looks like here in a minute. Call it already. I think I've got a beautiful little, I think I do. I think I've got a beautiful picture. Look at that. Call it, there's what you're starting to see. So call this already with the first 30 or 40 holes through it, since we've been at it, call it 200 meters long, call it 75 meters on average across, and call it 40 meters thick. And you can go look at the results, 36 meters of half kilo, 20 meters, 37 meters, incredible, should never have been there. So we are now screaming to the north and adding to that. Stay tuned for more results. It's also open to the south. We just chose to go north, and the reason why, it seems a little wider up there. There was not much science in it. And we will get back to the south. But you can really see here, like, this is the incredible part to look. Remember you asked me earlier where we walk now? Well, you can see it's just down right below the level 7 haulage. That's where this sits. Never been touched. So this is exciting. I'm not going to go through all the press releases. You can go back and basically I'll go to that long section and have a look at it. But think about it, and I think this one shows it. It seems it's epigenetic. I can tell you that. And if the viewers don't know what that means, it's coming from the same source. It's not a replacement. It's not something different. So just as this event led to the blowout in the stockwork, and maybe at different pulses, we don't know. And this led to that. This is the same type of material that's been laid down. That's about 200 meters. You can see what it's doing. However, whatever happened here, this is all the Precambrian granite. That's the basement rock that follows all along. We see this outcrop along our project for 20, 30, 40 kilometers. It seems to be just liking to sit right on top of that. We've only tested it on the El Tigre vein. When we went and found, I'm going to go that long session, you see it. When we found this shale blowout, that's about 5, 6 kilometers there. It was on all three of the veins, the three veins that ascend, and they are all within 100 meters of each other. The three main veins of the deposit: the Tigre, the Sui, and the Sites Kelly. This is all we've found it on the Tigre. We're going to test it on the Sites Kelly and the Sui. There would be no reason to think it wouldn't be there. We haven't proved that yet. So really what we're doing is real simple. We're drilling from surface and going north. We're going to test it to the south. It's already big. If this continues to act and go this way, like it could, this will be an incredible new discovery, and so far so good. That's all I will tell you on that. Nice little thing I'll tell people to keep an eye for too. This is the priority target because the old timers didn't touch it. And right here was 50 million silver equivalent ounces to 2.5 kilos. They took out in like 18 years. So right now there's level 7. You can just see it. We're there now, not next week, but imminently. We will start, these holes down here are being drilled from surface. We'll soon start drilling these from underground. I think people who follow the story, I'm going to show you pictures worth a million words, and then we'll end up on this. You know, when we were very fortunate here that the mine was in incredible condition. We knew it would be. We got all of those underground mining records from 1980s that were saved by the Anaconda Company before they went to business, went to the University of Wyoming. And they were in the old mine then and went all through it, and they said it was in excellent shape. We had all when we built that mine model, we built it to the foot. And when we got in here, it was incredible. It was mostly, we walked pretty well, not walk, but the first 400 meters, and that was the old level 7 haulage way from that old mine over 25 years. There was some cave-ins, but we went very quickly and got to where we wanted to be on that level 7 in the depths of mine. I'll show you one more picture so people understand where we are at the end. You know, we're always thinking ahead, and we'll talk about that a little bit, how we're going to get at this or how we're going to mine this. That would be great to take a drill in and get some holes, but that's not a commercial opening. So we stepped back last fall, and I think this picture shows it. Here's what the old timers left us. Call it 8 by 8. We wanted 4.5 meters by 4 meters. So we just brought in Cominvi and the heavier equipment, and we've driven, call it 400 meters. I'll show you that tunnel in a minute, to Sui. We have this, but now we're driving it like that. So, you know, the underground development now that we're doing looks like that. It's beautiful stuff. And that'll be all the way very soon to the Sui. And let me show you one more picture so you understand where we are on this. And I think this is the way to end up on pictures, and then we'll chat more. I didn't want this to be a slide deck presentation, but I think this is a very powerful slide. Got all those mining records. We rebuilt the old mine, and this brings it all full circle for everybody. There's the old Tigre mine. That's it. That is rebuilt from all of the underground records. We have them all paper. We digitized it all. We rebuilt this model. Every level, every mining engineer level, the whole thing. So think about it this way. I want you to think this is going to the south, and this is to the north. I'll rotate it for a minute so you understand. You can see here the old timers at the south end went to 450 meters, 15 levels. The black is the stope. That's exactly what they took, and you can see where they were developing. They never took the ore. Here, this is where we've been playing for the last year or more, 2 years. It was very incredible to us that when we looked at this, and there's those 3 main veins so everybody can follow it. There's the Sui, there's the Tigre, and there's at the north end, Sites Kelly. You can see what I just showed you. This is the real level 7 opening, that first 500-meter run right in. So we walk here right now. Call it, we've got it slashed out to commercial size to about here. But it's really simple to see what we're going to do. And remember, we're going to keep going. It's another 75 meters, and we're at the Tigre vein, and another, call it 75 to 100, and we're in the Sites Kelly. So really, we're going to be about right here. You can see it. Below our feet, there's the shale we found, 20 meters below where we walk. And as we drill deeper, we got the real bonus. There's already that sulfide zone. So very, very exciting ore body developing here. And we're not in it, but we're pretty well in it. And the next will be all of the drilling that's been from up here will soon transition to right here. And then we're really going to be able to get after it with 3 or 4 drill rigs that are at surface. And they're being transitioned underground right now and refurbed so they can drill underground.
Usually we obviously wouldn't, it'd be more conversational, but to be honest, I think having the viewers.
I think people had to see that.
I agree. And I guess the next question now is, I mean, obviously you've got a resource and PEA coming out relatively soon. I mean, this must be changing on a month by month basis in terms of the way you're looking at this mine and how it's going to work, right?
The world has changed a little bit. You know, I don't know if people can find it, and I think it's an incredible interview. We were at the BMO show, as you know, that's held every February, and I had the privilege, you know, of calling Van Eck as one of my shareholders, and one of the smartest guys and longest serving guys in the industry is a guy named Joe Foster. So I hadn't even seen it. I saw Joe at the event and had a conversation with him, but somebody sent me, just like you do interviews at these shows, I think, I don't want to, you're not your competition. I think it was Kitco, but I think it's a fantastic interview he did. And they asked him where he thought the junior mining space was at this time. It's a 15 or 20-minute listen. Everybody should listen to it. And I'll leave it at that because I think it paints a picture of where we think we are, because about 18 months ago, our group started to see that that's where junior mining was going. There's a dearth of big companies buying the juniors anymore. How are they going to survive? Most of them are too small. This is a summation of it, to survive unless they're combined 4 or 5 of them together with one management team, and or the ones who can do it can get to production. We started 18 months ago going, we need to always be thinking. We always think about building a business. This is not about drilling holes and delivering reports. Nobody makes any money on that. In the end, that always fails if there's not a mine. So from our perspective, we have been really thinking about how to get the Tigre back in production. All of our drilling has done that. And so what you're going to see, and you talk about a PEA, call the next 5 or 6 months. We're going to come with the roadmap. And that roadmap will be a PEA, and we'll update all our resource. We have to do that also. But really, we got very lucky here. And these are all things that basically are in the public domain. When I bought this public company, they had done a lot of work on the tailings from that old mine. 1 million tons of tailings, okay? Beautiful stuff, call it 150 grams silver in it, equivalent. They did a pre-feasibility study on it. Go look at it. We would have done it a little different, and we will, but we've done a lot more work on that. That's there. There's 200,000 tons of what we call waste rock. The old timers, the cutoff in the old mine was 1.2 kilos. You can rest assured the waste rock that's sitting outside the mine was pretty interesting. Call it 200,000 tons right outside that level 7. Call it 275 grams per ton on average silver. We have all that ore sitting at surface, and we knew that for the last while. So we always knew that what this needed was a mill. The old timers produced 100 million silver equivalent ounces at 2.5 kilos over 1908 to 1929. I'm going to ask you to guess how big the mill was. It was incredibly small. For the first 10 years, it was 100 tons per day. For the second,
with high grade like that, it doesn't need to be big, right?
Right, and the second 10 years it was 220. We have all the. It's a fact. Go look on my website and there's a beautiful article done there by one of the big magazines in South America on the Tigre mine a month ago. It's on the front page. Everybody should read it about the history of this thing. That being said, these deposits never stop being what they were. This is a high grade, low tonnage mine. It's what it will be. Very profitable. You can see the type of ore we're drilling. I showed you. So we always thought 800 tons per day would be a beautiful place to be. And that's what you'll see us talking about in the PEA. You'll see us, look, it's pretty common information. It's not public. When I bought that public company, there was a permit already in place for that. And basically, so we have an easy path to putting this in production. That will be the first step. That'll all be built in, that ore at surface. But make no mistake why we would build a mill here. We would build a mill for exactly what I showed you sitting under our feet at level 7. All of those beautiful high-grade quartz veins, the shale right under our feet, and now just unexplainable. And that was more than enough. The veins were enough. Imagine the shale was more than enough. And now this sulfide zone is sitting right there 250 meters below our feet. And so we can't wait. It's not tomorrow, but it will be in the roadmap to get that material in that mill. That's the first part. The second part of the roadmap you'll see laid out will be that heap leach I talked about. And the heap leach, I didn't talk about it, but remember I showed you at the epithermal system has the flowering top. Well, that flowering top, we've already put that on the books. People can go look at it and study it. That 1,000,000 ounces of only gold that disseminated outside the veins, all at surface, most of it oxidized. It's 2 to 1-ish strip, maybe a bit more. That'll come out. That'll be more revealed in the next study. We're doing all the work to move that down the field, the column tests, the work, the metallurgy. You'll see all of that. That we will and have applied for a heap leach permit for that. That's going to take some time. That'll be built into the plan, but that will be the next step. Call it back of envelope. What would that look like? People say we would see that being somewhere around a 5,000 ton per day heap leach if we're successful in getting the permit and moving that down the field. That's not, this will be staged, and so everybody will have a roadmap. I'd like to have it in 4 months. That's what I've told my team. Maybe, but let's just say 6 so that I don't disappoint everybody. So that's all going to come, and then all of the resource that we've drilled over the last while will all be built into that. But the Tigre will never be, let's drill this off and get all the resource. We'll be drilling, in our opinion, our technical team will be drilling resource off at the Tigre, like all these big districts, for the next 20 or 30 years. So this is the way. We had to figure out a way how a small junior can tackle a district in a world where we've been very successful with capital. But remember, every time I take that money from the institutions, I thank them very much for it, and we are very fortunate to have their support, but that's more shares. So, you cannot, at some point, you have to flip the switch where you will generate your own cash flow so that you can drill for the next 20 or 30 years, and then keep putting more and more ounces and building this out more and more. So that's the plan for Silver Tiger. And I think you're going to see a lot of that start to be put out as we get it ready into the public domain this year.
Okay. And just before we tie things up, I mean, with the 35 million that you have in the bank at the moment, where does that see you through to, and how much of that goes into the ground? How much towards economic studies?
Look, I got to be real careful what I say here, because I don't have that economic study out there yet. I'm a securities lawyer. I don't want to get myself in trouble or the company. So I'll be cautious, but we think that the plan we have engineered that you'll see in this PEA for this, getting that mill turning, already having the ore at surface, already have done a lot of the underground development work. I think that we can probably get to a position with the money we have that mill will be there. A lot of hard work to be done, and we still will be able to aggressively explore and delineate, especially that sulfide zone. So we're gonna push that money we have as far as we can. I look at, in my mind, I don't usually say that now the heap leach is a separate issue. That's another permit and that's another expenditure. So park that for right now. But with what's in front of us, with what's closest, I usually don't say, I think that this maybe for this step could be the last money I need to take. I'm hoping it is. I can't guarantee that, but we're in the ballpark. We think we can get a long way with what we have, and why we took that money when we did. We think it's going to be very strategically taken money for us, or strategically thought out, and I think really should lead to a re-rating of where we are with the company. So, stay tuned over the next year. A lot of things are going to happen.
No, we will be. I think you're actually in a very unique position in terms of the results you're having, how well you're funded, and sort of your pathway to cash flow potentially. So, Glenn, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Peter. We appreciate it.